Yo, what is up guys, Space here and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and today I'm going to be going over the new auction tanks that have just come out. Obviously last week we had, or the last 4 days we had the E6 as one of the main tier 10 rewards in the auction, and today there is a brand new auction. Now heading straight into the auction tanks, as you can see there's a bunch of different options. I'm going to quickly go over every single one so that the video is not too long, and what I think of the pricing and of the tank, if I think you guys should go ahead and buy it, and what tanks do I recommend you guys to go and get, and which tanks do I recommend you to absolutely leave alone. Now first of all, we have the WZ112-2. It's a tier 8 premium vehicle, and it's currently going for 7,000 gold. Now the auction lasts 4 days in total, and the next price drop will be in 23 hours and 40 minutes, 48 minutes to be exact, and the next price drop will be 6,500 gold. So it means that it's only going to be dropping in intervals of 500 gold. And for 7,000 gold, I highly don't suggest you to buy this tank. If it hits about 4,500 gold, I'd say that is a good option to go ahead and get. However, I think a lot of people might go for it because they might think it's something like an Object 252, but it definitely is not. The tank is not that great, and its gun is very inaccurate. It's not a tank that's very fun, it's very bland, and for that reason I don't suggest you guys to go and get your hands on the vehicle unless it is below 5,000 gold. About 4,500 is my sweet spot for that tank. Next, moving on, is the IS-2SH. It is a very rare vehicle. Not a lot of times you would have been able to get it. I believe it has been sold quite often recently, but it is a tier 8 vehicle, and it is going for 5,500 gold. For 1,500 gold cheaper than the WZ. However, the IS-2SH is one of the worst tier 8 tanks in the game. It hasn't been touched in years. It's basically an IS at tier 7 pushed up to tier 8, and that is what you get out of it. I mean, it's kind of different because it's an IS series tank with a rear mounted turret, so it looks cool, but definitely is not a good bet, especially for 5,500 gold right now. If the tank, I will say, as for a tier 8 premium vehicle, if this tank hits about 2,500 gold, which I assume it might, because yeah, I don't think a lot of people are going to be buying this, and if you are, you kind of are silly to get and waste your gold on this vehicle. So yeah, definitely not a good buy either. Now the FCM50T. So this tank is a French vehicle. It's a tier 8 medium tank as well. It's a massive tank. It's bigger than most heavy tanks out there. It has absolutely no armor, hardly any gun depression, and its gun is not the most beautiful thing to boast about. So the FCM is also a very olden day type of tank. It hasn't really been touched since then, and for that reason, I mean, it's very mediocre, and you have a lot of other stronger tanks tier for tier than the FCM50T. However, 4,500 gold for this vehicle is a very nice price as of now, but I do highly suggest you to wait for it to get to 2,000 gold, which I think it might, because if it's going in intervals of 500, it might hit 3,000 maybe, or 2,000 gold, which is very nice. 2,500 gold would be a very, very good price, even 3,000 gold for a tier 8 tank like the FCM50T. Now let's move on to the Lorraine 40T. This tank is a light tank vehicle, which means if you're not a skilled player in lightly armored tanks and mobile tanks, then you're not going to do well in this tank. I highly suggest you to move on right away, because the Lorraine 40 ton, yes, it's a great tank. However, it's very hard for most players to play, and if you're a player that struggles in light tanks, like I said, you're really going to struggle in this vehicle. So only get this vehicle if and only if you are good at lightly armored tanks that are very mobile. Otherwise, you're just going to have an awful time in this tank and you're not going to have fun. However, it has a very nice and fun clip potential. So yeah, it's a very fun tank to play, but only if you're good at light vehicles. 5,000 gold, not too bad for a tier 8 vehicle. However, I believe it'll drop to about 4,000 or maybe 3,000 gold in total. So I think you should go and get your hands on it. If it drops below 4,500, that is basically a steal. Now moving on to the STG, another tier 8 medium tank. Now I will say, so far all the tanks in this auction have been pretty mediocre. They're not the greatest out there. I don't see a Chimera here, which I might think that Wargaming might put it in the future auctions, the Chimera. However, yes, STG. Let's talk about this tank. Now the STG is a very high alpha medium tank, and it has a good amount of armor on its turret. It is very low to the ground. However, it has absolutely no gun depression, absolutely zero. And yeah, it's not 0 on the dots. I believe it is like 4 or 5 degrees, which is absolutely awful. And you can't really use that on any ridgeline, which means it's going to be very, very hard for most players to play. New players struggle with tanks that don't have gun depression. This vehicle is the epitome of not having any. So I would highly suggest you to move along, especially for it going for 6,500 gold. It is very expensive. However, The tank is a very hard-hitting tank. It has a very nice alpha, and for that reason, it can be very fun. It's pretty mobile at that, and its armor, while it's not the greatest, you can bounce a good amount of shots, especially if you face hug in this vehicle. However, for 6,500 gold, definitely not a recommended thing to go and spend your gold on. If this tank hits to 4,500 gold, which it might, then I highly suggest you to go and get your hands on it. As for every tier 8 vehicle out there, premium vehicles, yeah, 4,500 gold is like a sweet spot. That is where you like really want to spend your gold, because it is a very good price for a tier 8 vehicle. Now moving on, we have the K91. Now this tank is a very, very strong tier 9 vehicle. It's a premium vehicle as well, meaning that it will make boosted credits and XP, so you can use it to earn better credits. And it's a tier 9 vehicle, the sweet spot for if you're not really wanting to play tier 10 and you don't want to play a low tier like tier 8. So the K91, definitely a sweet spot there. For 10,000 gold, it's actually not that bad for a tier 9 premium vehicle. However, it is dropping in intervals of 1,000 gold. So in the next 3 days, if this thing is still in the store, because as you can see, there's only 2,970 of them left, which means about 28 of them have been sold in the first 20 minutes of it being launched. So I do highly suggest you to get this tank. Obviously, don't just waste your gold on it now. The price will drop by 1,000 gold by tomorrow. And that means that you could probably get this tank for 7,000 gold, which will be a very, very nice price. Maybe 6,000 gold, because there are 4 days here and it drops by 1,000 each day. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I think it will be going for about 7,000 gold at its cheapest. And if the tank is still there, like I said, definitely get your hands on it. It is a fantastic, very fun, really competitive tier 9 heavy tank. Now, lastly, we have the Super Conqueror, a tier 10 collector's vehicle, which, as you know, collector's vehicles, you can get gold back. Especially for a tier 10, you can get 7,500 gold back from the vehicle if you ever decide to sell it, which I don't really recommend you doing. However, this means that the tank, yes, if you are spending 17,500 gold, but you're actually only spending 10,000 because you can get 7,500 back. Unless you're buying the gold and you haven't been saving up the gold, then yes, the Super Conqueror is also a fantastic tier 10 hull down heavy tank. And even for new players, if you're looking to play tier 10, while I don't suggest you to play tier 10 if you are a new player, or at least go and spend money on a tank that is a tier 10, I do think that this tank is very, very friendly to play because it's very accurate. It can go hull down, it's quite maneuverable, and has a good amount of armor, as well as it can side scrape for being a hull down vehicle. It is a fantastic all-rounded heavy tank. Super Conqueror, very, very nice. And as you can see, it's going for 1,500 gold cheaper tomorrow. So if it's still in the store by tomorrow and the next day, you could possibly get this tank for about 14,000 gold, like the T9E6 was sold at. So if it does reach that price, I really suggest you guys to go and get this tank. If you have the gold laying around, or if you have the budget to buy the Super Conqueror, a fantastic tank, and especially for the price, I really suggest you to get it. For 17,500 gold, maybe not so much. Yeah, the last time it was sold, it was going for about 23,000 gold. So at this price point, it is already a very good price. So if you wait a little bit, you'll get it for cheaper. And just keep in mind that it's sold 70 or 72 now because it just dropped. And that means that, yeah, it's going to probably fly through, and you might just lose your chance at getting this if you wait too long. Anyways, guys, there you have it. There is my opinion on the current auction tanks. While I don't think this week has the most favorable tanks out there, the tier 8s are definitely mediocre and not the greatest you could possibly spend your gold on. So I don't recommend you to buy any of the tier 8s unless you're a skilled player, maybe the Lorraine, but the rest of them are very, very bad and they're not the greatest out there. You will do better with any other tier 8 premium tank like the Chimera. You guys can let me know what you guys think of the current tanks in the auction in the comment section below, or in my Discord server. There will be a link to join that in the description of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, guys, that's it for me today. Hope your shells hit their marks, and I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.